Okay, it's 7 o'clock. Welcome, everybody, to the June 18th, 2024 meeting of the Orland Park Plan Commission. Will everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, I'll call the meeting to order with a roll call. Chairman Parisi, thank you. Vice Chairman Schuessler?
Here.
Commissioner Paul?
Here.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Here.
Commissioner Nugent?
Here.
Commissioner Zamparelli is not here. And Commissioner Zatar is not here. So that'll do it. Okay. We've all had an opportunity to read the minutes. And so I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the June
Chairman.
4th meeting.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Schuessler.
move the minutes of the meeting of June 4th, 2024 be approved as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So now we will, I move that we open public hearings with public hearing number 2024-0116, Portillo's Hot Dogs.
Second.
I made the motion, seconded by Commissioner Paul. In favor?
Aye.
Before we get into it, and here is Commissioner Zamparelli, so he's present.
You're late.
Just as a point of information, I mentioned this, but in the presentation, I'm sure this is an error, but in the project summary, it talks about the petitioner intends to add a 3,300 square foot addition to accommodate funeral parlor operations. My guess is that's an error, and it probably has to do with the funeral parlor that's going up on 143rd Street in the old People's Bank building. So we could strike that from here. Thank you. Okay, so we're opening this petition, and is the petitioner present? Would you step up? By the way, in addition to the petitioner, is there anybody from the public that's going to want to speak on any of these issues? You are, okay. Just a quick run. What we do is we go with the petitioner, then we go with staff, and then we ask the public. And everybody who comes up here to speak, we ask you to come up to the podium, and we will swear you in. The meeting is recorded, and you'll have your opportunity to ask address any questions you have to this commission. And lastly, we'll poll all the commissioners. And thank you for taking the time to attend as well.
Petitioner, is there anyone else that's going to speak on behalf of your petition?
We may have a question.
Yes, ma'am. So we've got, I'd like to introduce my project team, if that's okay, but we've got.
All of you could stand up and raise your right hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you'll all be sworn
Sworn
in.
at once, okay.
So
We might ask a question that only
right,
one
I'll
of
just
you
do it
could
as a
answer.
group. Okay. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that any testimony you present tonight in this matter will be the truth and nothing but the truth? If so, please say I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Could you kindly give us your name and address and position for the record?
Matthew Gilbert, 2100 Spring Road, Oak Brook, Illinois. And my position is Director of Construction for Portillo's Hot Dogs.
Okay. And the others, you're sworn in, and you can give your name and address if and when you come up to the podium. Sir, did you have anything? You saw,
Oh, I was just waiting to get.
well, yeah, you saw the presentation. You saw there's a number of conditions,
Yes, sir.
and you're in agreement with those
Yes, sir.
issues?
Yes, sir.
And I know you have, you've asked for some variances from code,
Yes, sir.
and that is something that our commissioners will get to discuss. Also, you saw the findings of fact, and you gave your replies, and staff has seen that.
Correct.
So, any questions or comments, sir?
No, I just,
Excuse 1 second. Okay, we now have Commissioner Zatar is here, so we have a full team here. Welcome, Joe. Go ahead.
awesome. So just want to take the time to thank the Village of Orland Park for hearing our case. Can you hear? Oh, sorry. It's a weird, sir. So I just
That
want to
is.
thank the Village of Orland Park for hearing our case. As the board and the staff has been very helpful in this case, this is a new drive-through only restaurant for Portillo's. I'm assuming everybody on the board in Orland Park is familiar with Portillo's, the brand and the restaurant, and our heritage here in the Chicagoland area. This is going to be a brand-new prototype for us, so Portillo's is in a growth mode, and so not just be part of Orland Park for a new location, but this will be the first drive-through only new prototype that you'll see all across the U.S. being built. So we selected this village for that. The location is prime in the mall area on the highway, so we're excited for the opportunity to build and be a part of Orland Park.
I don't think his mic's on.
I don't think your microphone was on. Could somebody check? Is there?
Harry, do you know how to turn the mic on? I think his mic is off.
Testing.
It's on.
You just need to, somebody has to turn the volume up, maybe upstairs there.
Yeah, well, we got you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll turn to our staff.
Okay. I respectfully.
Yours works.
I respectfully request the staff report be accepted into the record as written and as presented during the meeting. So here we just have an aerial of the current conditions of the site. This is what the vacant Denny's looks like currently as of March. So Portillo's is seeking a special use permit for a approximately 3,700 square foot drive-through restaurant. They're also seeking several modifications to the land development code, which include their parking lot structure being in between the building setback and the street, the canopies extending more than 3 feet into any setback, and also some of their windows on their east and west elevations not containing 65% transparent glass. The subject site is located within the Regional Core Planning District according to the comprehensive plan. You can see the site by the yellow star. It's in the parcel is zoned mixed-use core. Currently, the site is vacant, but the land use will remain commercial if approved. These are some renderings of the proposed Portillo's drive-through only concept. The site is a highly visible location. It contains a high-quality design, and overall, the site adheres to the design standards of the village. They have some racetrack and raceway elements that have been incorporated all throughout the site. In addition, there's a mural element that has been incorporated, which will feature elements specific to the Village of Orland Park, as you guys can see here in that entry corner rendering. According to section 6-306, this proposed site would require 1 parking space for every 100 square feet of building area, in addition to 7 stacking spaces per drive-through lane. This site meets that required number of parking spaces. They have 38 parking spaces on site, and there's, in this, as you can see from this image, there's 26 queue spaces within those 2 proposed drive aisles, and they have also provided 4 bicycle parking spaces as well. And the bicycle parking also meets the spacing requirements. Portillo's has incorporated a video of how their drive-through operations will flow, which I'll play now.
Take your life from your hands. You're a runner there.
Okay, thanks for watching that.
Could we, the very beginning picture again, because I want to be able to, we didn't get anything with our packets, but I'd like to be able to visualize. I'm assuming that the cars are pulling in off of Orland Square Drive, going around the building and exiting out to Orland Square Drive.
Yeah, I will show a different photo here. So they would be, you can't see it here, they'd be pulling in where those red and green lines are here, pulling in off of the ring road near Orland Square Drive and loading up in that queue, where the drive-through entry starts there.
Okay. Sure. You want,
Okay.
step up? You want to give him a pointer?
Yeah, they don't, when they get to the TV, it,
By the way, no, never mind. We already got you.
What Wilson was saying, the vehicles will enter in off of Orland Square Drive, take a right, and then go into the drive-through entry there. They will then be greeted by order takers and from our speed team. They will take their tablets, they will collect payment, and then be drafted into a ride with a sticker. And then they will exit the drive-through lane, and then we're opposite drive-through again. And then as they exit there, and then they can turn right or left on Orland Park Square. Which one would be right based on the traffic on Orland Park Square, but that is the circulation, so just a clockwise circulation.
Thank you for that clarification. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
no, it's fine. Questions are needed. So as you can see in the video, they have employees running through both of the drive-through lanes at all times. And Portillo's has confirmed that during their peak hours, they have approximately 60 employees working on site during peak times. Their traffic study that they gave to us, shows that the drive-through queues are not projected to extend beyond the queue. And then they've also confirmed through additional measures that that drive-through queue does not extend into that ring road. So this proposed project has been designed to not generate excessive congestion or compromise the safety of any of the surrounding roadways, specifically that ring road around the mall. So regarding case number 2024-0116, also known as Portillo's Hot Dogs, 20 Orland Square Drive, special use permit for the drive-through restaurant, staff recommends to accept and make findings of fact as discussed here, including the 3 listed modifications. In addition, staff recommends that the Plan Commission approve a preliminary site plan and a preliminary landscape plan, subject to the following conditions laid out in the staff report dated June 12th, 2024. And this is the staff recommended motion. That's it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Our petitioner has read all these conditions and is okay with them.
Yes, Commissioner, we have read the conditions,
Okay.
we've addressed the comments on
Thanks
landscaping.
again.
and we-
Thanks again. Okay, now we'll go to anybody from the public. Ma'am? Did you have a question or comment? No? Yes? Well, if you'd like to say something, come up. If you had a question or comment. No? Okay. Well, I still say, well, thank you for attending. Okay. Okay, now I will go to our commissioners. And we will start with Commissioner Zamparelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too like Portillo's. But I'm curious, Matt, if you don't mind stepping at the mic, how many cars do you get like every 15 minutes at the Tinley Park drive-through? How many vehicles at the Tinley Park drive-through?
So at the Tinley Park drive-through, I don't have those numbers based off, calculate off my head. Civil engineering, Cage, do you guys have the traffic counts from Tinley Park? The exact number I don't have. Tinley Park is an older restaurant and an older model with an older kitchen. In the past 2 years, Portillo's has went through a kitchen redesign to ensure that we are getting more efficiency out of our kitchen. Our team is delivering the meals quicker and more effectively. And then one other measure that we've taken to avoid the issues like we've had at Tinley Park is there's 2 menu items that take longer to make ready because we do everything fresh, which is the chicken and the onion rings, right? So for people that come to Portillo's and get the chicken and the onion rings, those are typically the 2 menu items that cause the delay or cause the backup. So if you look at our proposed site plan, we have 2 parking spaces on the planned south side. For customers who come through that are already getting bypassed in the lane, if they're still causing a drag up, we can, yes, correct. We can get those customers to pull them forward there. So those 2 menu item customers, not big sellers, but they are sellers. So the additional studies we've taken to make sure that we don't have any more backup into there. So, but to answer your question, I do not have those numbers for Tinley Park off the top of my head.
Because I was at Tinley just the other day. I frequent them a lot. So I love the fact that you're coming here, but I have to tell you, I'm really, really concerned with that ring road. If we get this wrong, we're going to screw that whole thing up because the intersection just south, which is the 145th, I believe.
49,
No, just south on Ring Road.
47,
No, it's not. No, going south.
going south.
Yeah, the one that leads to the LaGrange Road. The one that goes, whatever.
It's under 49.
149th. Okay, that one, that intersection gets screwed up all the time because the cars that are coming don't have to stop.
Yes, sir.
And if we get cars backed up on that ring road from your drive-through, I don't know how we fix it. That's my fear.
Exactly, and trust me, let me tell you that Portillo's, we look at the traffic counting probably more than the jurisdiction do, because it's bad for us, for our customers, to be waiting in line, to be causing a safety concern, queuing in the road. And so when we looked at this new prototype, I mentioned in the beginning that we've really looked at the efficiency of this building. We've got multiple order places that you can pick up your order. We've added the 2 spaces to help alleviate what we've looked at with Tinley Park and Rosemont that we opened last year. Again, more improvement in Rosemont than we had in Tinley Park. And this one, like I said, we've got 26 parking spaces for stacking in the queue lane. It's a pickup only, so customers do not come in and place orders and then wait for the orders to be brought through. So that's taken 3 or 4 minutes off the average ticket time as well. So we've looked at this. We've got the traffic study that confirms what we think, and looking at sales numbers from the past Tinley and Rosemont drive-through locations. And I hope that we don't cause a concern. If we do cause a concern, then Portillo's would step up and figure out a solution immediately. But based on the numbers that we see and the calculations and queuing times, I think that we've double accounted for some of that backup.
We had a problem with Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A was pouring out. The businesses next door couldn't get to their businesses. So that's a fear. So I guess if there is a problem, you guys are willing, because you don't benefit. I know you got to have people in.
Exactly. So I will. They love to eat, and the number one thing they make for dinner is reservations. It's a proven fact. Our queuing line in Denton, Texas was backing out onto the interstate feeder road, right? That's a big problem. So we got with the state immediately. We installed no turn lane signs, all this kind of stuff. We held that for 3 months until the big buzz and everything calmed down in Denton. Now we're still getting traffic and people are learning how to use the site, but we took those precautions for the grand opening because we knew when you open the doors to a business, you're going to have that immediate influx of customers and stuff. And so, like I said, we've got a speed team with managers on site that direct traffic and make sure they're not queuing in the lanes. We use cones on the sites for new openings. So we'll do everything that we can to substantiate the no impact to Orland
You
Park.
can handle a lot of cars, right? I was counting, I think there's at least 24 cars that could be sitting waiting, putting orders in, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
I want to vote yes. I'm just concerned with that ring road. But as long as I know you guys are going to make it right, whatever it takes.
Yes, you have my word, you have Portillo's word, but like I said, trust me, we've been designing this prototype for months and months and months and looking at the traffic, getting traffic counts, working with Cage Engineering and making sure that what we think that they can substantiate with the numbers and the mathematics. So I think that
you want to
we've
make
done
it
our due
Orland Park
diligence.
your first, so thank you for your time, Matt.
Thank you so much.
Well, I'm sure you got a good case study if you, just judging from your your one restaurant in Willowbrook on 83, the traffic over there, it's wrapped around that parking lot. You familiar with that one?
Yeah, it's on Willowbrook.
Yeah, so-
Or Tinley, too. Actually, one more question. I believe the drive-throughs, are they going to be all concrete?
The what?
The concrete, are they
The
concrete?
drive-through lane?
Lanes?
Yes, yes, the drive-through lanes are concrete, and then the parking lot is asphalt.
Asphalt, yes.
Yes, that is
Thank you.
correct.
Thank
That's
you.
all. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Commissioner Nugent?
I don't know if we skipped something real obvious. Are we keeping the Denny structure?
No, sir. So the Denny structure is going to be demolished completely, foundation and everything like that. Actually had a meeting today with the contractors. Cage Engineering is working on our demo permit, so we're going to raise and rebuild that whole site to really bring that aesthetic pleasing to that kind of eyesore right now.
So I'm going to follow that up to staff. Why is this different than other, why did we not see like drawings and prototypes, materials, colors and all that? I mean, you say it's beautiful and they have a strong reputation, but why is this one different? I mean, we don't see what the building looks like at all.
Elevations, we don't have elevations.
I mean, you're asking for, I mean, that's exactly that.
Yes, the building will look like this, and this is what the building will look like.
It wasn't in any of the packets, so that picture I thought was examples. So it will be this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I agree with, I requested that upon coming in because it's a lot easier for us to visualize and, at least we usually have something posted on the back boards.
Thank you.
So at one of the last two meetings, I made a point, it may have come across bad, but 151st and LaGrange is a mix of success and failure. We have 4 successful restaurants, all of which, are doing well, 3 of which have strong reputations like Portillo's. We've gotten feedback from the community, from the beginning to all the changes that we didn't do it right, okay? The problem is that 2 of them are heavy drive-through. One, Panera is partial, and Smashburger is none, and then the other. But some of my concerns that are there, I'm looking at the prototype, and then now visualizing it, we're tearing it down. Is the building gonna go closer to LaGrange Road then, technically? Or is it
Correct.
about where Denny's is now?
Correct. It'll be closer to LaGrange Road.
Okay, so it's not. So I'm gonna throw it all together, and I don't need separate answers, and I'm gonna go back. You're gonna drop off employees. I mean, you have a lot of teenagers at your other locations, so people are gonna be dropped off, mom, dad, whoever. You're gonna have at max 64 employees, or potentially 64 employees. You can have as many as you want. Where are they parking? So that lot. So you want this to be a drive-through restaurant, but I did ask staff, I am allowed to do pickup here, so I can walk in and pick up. Can I be walking down the street or coming from Macy's and come and walk in and order and take out? So the people that are picking up their orders that have pre-ordered on your apps or whatever, so they're gonna park, and when I was looking at the diagram, so they're gonna come in here and park, and I'm not sure I get that Mary comes in and gets her order, parks here, she's gonna back up and go here during your Saturday rush. So then she's gotta come back here and then re-merge with these people? Just questions for that. So also with Commissioner Zamparelli's question, and I know the others have that, so north of you at Citibank, people come in. I think they're only gonna be able to come northbound, they can't come in southbound. So they come in and they wanna join the Ring Road, but I come from the south or the east, and I come from Ring Road. So both of the Ring Road traffic's gotta come together and turn in, right?
Yes, sir.
Then they're gonna merge in. Okay, while some people are exiting, right? Because you guys look like you got quite a flow going.
Yes, sir.
So like if I took like Oak Lawn or I took Tinley Park, like Oak Lawn, we can go back around the Jewel and maybe I go back to 95th, maybe I go to Pulaski. Or Tinley Park, everyone's kind of forced around, but then they can split off to 159th or go some other way to a couple exits to Harlem. Here, everyone's gonna exit here. And while they're exiting, they might get the pickup people, the Uber Eats people, we all merge in. The people from Citibank come here and the people from Macy's come here, right? We're all one spot, right? And I asked staff, Orland Square assignment at this time says you can't use any of their parking for their employees.
Correct.
So I'm throwing that all together. Your engineering and your street people have said you're not going to have any traffic.
Yes, and if, I would like to explain just
But all the
a,
things I threw together, traffic's not going to be an issue. And looking at your video, I know you sped it up, but some of those people look like when they go from 2 to 1. I don't do drive-through much. I'm a novelty. But as they're coming together, it looks like some people want to go faster or slower. They're not paying attention. So is that improved from your past, or
Yes, sir.
since it's prototype? These 2 lanes, they always got to know if the other guy's going? And do you ever get accidents where you do it now, like until you're gone?
yes. So I would like to address all those questions. Great questions. The first one that I'd like to address is the online pickup. So people who are walking out of Macy's or walking down the street, they can walk in and pick up their food, but they have to order it online. So this is not like a walk up, place your order, and then wait for it, which isn't.
Like Mickey D's, just walk in, order, and wait. I have to be.
It's an online order. So that is another speed technique that we put in place because we do not want people to come in here and loiter and lollygag and booger up traffic and all that kind of stuff. You put it on your phone, you pay for it, you pick it up. It's either Uber Eats or yourself, and then you walk in and go. So the parking spaces as you enter the drive-through, those are employee parking spaces, right? So the double lane that you just parked out, that you pointed out?
One's closest to the building?
No, sir, the ones at furthest plant east, yes, those are all employee parking spaces, and then the 2 accessible spaces, and then the adjacent right there, those are gonna be for the online order pickup, right? But the majority of the business and the model that we have here is for drive-through. And so you're not gonna have customers picking and choosing which parking spaces and going north and south against the traffic. That's also why we have one point of connection for driveway access, is because it helps us mandate with our speed team the circulation of the traffic through the site. We've got many sites, Tinley Park is one of them, Downers Grove is another one with the drive-through, to where there's no real direction on site. It's just kind of a building and a drive-through and a bigger parking lot, and there's no real direction, there's no real, it's like herding cats. You just kind of go everywhere, right? So the way we did this layout is so you're kind of forced to circulate the site that we want to make it. You don't have another option, and then you're forced out of the site. So that was the 2 questions, and then yes, sir, the traffic engineers, men that are way smarter than me and women that are way smarter than me, and then our civil engineers, they've looked at it, they've laid it out, we've laid it out backwards, forwards, upside down, Sundays and Saturdays, and this is the site that they say this won't have issues or backup for circulation.
So it won't be like a Walgreens, for just so many people making a short trip in and out while your drive-through people are trying to pass them?
Exactly.
Okay. Will the Simon not having access ever change? Or you just, now you don't need it? The owners of the mall, they're not giving you access across the ring?
No, so
Don't need it? You're not trying to still negotiate with them?
no, so we're not negotiating with them. They're pretty hard. We can't change the things on the ring road, and our lease, it's 30 years, it's 10 years with, 10, I mean, it's 30 years from now, they might go back and renegotiate it, but the lease is pretty much locked in at the table.
So I assume you do a good business with these Uber Eats kind of places? You rely on them?
I don't want to lie to you so early in our relationship, because I'm in development, not in the operations side. We do not have a huge influx of Uber Eats and Grubhub and that kind of stuff. A majority of it is, Portillo's customers that, hey, I'm going to, on the way home, stop and pick up a hot dog, and they place it on the online
But if
order.
they come, they're going to park in the road not of employee parking?
Yes. And the other part I was going to bring up, sorry, I forgot, is the other portion of that traffic control inside is we have a speed team, and you saw those individuals on the videos that wear the fluorescent neon jackets and everything. That video, I think we had 2 people with them. For the drive-through only locations, we have multiple speed team members outside dictated how many traffic and customers are there. So we just don't leave, employees and customers to their own demise to figure out where to go through. We have people in those jackets directing you as soon as you get on site, making you pull up. Whenever there's a time for a merge, you have an employee there that is telling you, hoping people are playing nice and learning how to drive in the merge lane. So, and then regarding the accidents, I mean, we don't have a lot of corporate meetings on accidents, so I'm assuming it's not a big deal. But there's not any, issue with customers merging in our 80-something locations right now.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, for the staff, we should get these with every application. It's very difficult to
Visualize this.
visualize it looking from here over there or trying to look over here. What's going on? So, yeah, we should have gotten this ahead of time. Okay, in the report, it indicates that additional measures will be taken to ensure the queue does not extend into the ring road. And I've heard that mentioned several times, additional measures. What additional measures? What are you talking about?
Yes, sir. So those are the speed team members that we have in the parking lot that are there to direct the traffic, to let them know, like, you got to pull here, you've got to pull here, and all that kind of stuff. We have the speed team members that take the orders on the iPads, and we are a cashless drive-through, so that updates the time the customer can place their order. And let's face it, everybody in Chicagoland knows what they want from Portillo's. So they're looking at the menu, ordering, and deciding what they want, their menu item. That time is cut down. And then as you go through, we have the additional 2 parking spaces for the long menu items, the chicken and the onion rings that we drop when they're ordered. And then we have the bypass lane with the speed team members, ushering the customers who have either got their food to usher them safely out of the site, or customers who are waiting for the food to usher them down to the waiting line.
So they're going to get their food from the lane closest to the building, but the other lane is a bypass lane to
Yes, sir.
somebody who's got their food already can pull out and go through.
Yes, sir.
How do they, is there a menu board, or are they orders, all the orders taken with the iPads or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, so there's a menu board as you enter the drive-through. It's got the pre-sale screen, and then as you get under the canopy, it's got the full menu board that shows our menu items and the pricing. The iPads are there with the team members that are talking to you just like Chick-fil-A. I can't say the real name for, no, I'm kidding. So how they come up to your car and they take your order, and then you pay them right there. They get your name, and by the time you get to the window, your food has been ordered for 5 or 7 minutes, so it's fresh and ready for you. Okay. We kind of mimicked closely to, if it's not broke, don't fix it, so that's how we do the orders.
Okay, so the bottom line is you're going to have somebody out there directing traffic to save time and avoid accidents.
Yes, and our corporate policy is we have at least 2 speed team members minimum and 1 manager on duty at all times outside directing traffic. And then as the traffic increases, the team members will increase.
Okay, the report indicates that the 28-foot driveway is going to be 16 feet wide for incoming and 12 feet wide for outgoing traffic. What's the magic in that? Why is the incoming one wider than the outgoing one? Why aren't they the same width? Or what's the magic in 16 and 12?
My civil engineer is really bad at math. No, I'm kidding. So when vehicles are entering the...
I think I'm going to get an answer here
Yeah,
from,
vehicles entering the
maybe from
site...
the engineer, is that the?
Yeah, so vehicles that will enter the site, they're making that turn, and so they need to make a loop because they're doing pretty much a U-turn to enter the queuing lane.
Okay.
And so customers, so they need, more feet for their vehicle, and then customers exiting the site, they're already on a straight trajectory out, so they can scoot over to the curb, and so that's how we did it.
How did he do? Is that the right answer?
Yep.
You have anything to add to that?
No, I'll just add, and I'll say my name. Aaron Bruder, Director of Engineering with Cage Civil Engineering, 2200 Cabot Drive, Lyle, Illinois. The entire reason for that is that cars that are entering the site are doing it in motion, and cars that are leaving the site are doing it from a stop. So providing a little bit more space for that inbound motion, just so we're getting cars off of that ring road easier, is why we're widening that entrance.
Okay, and a couple of quick questions on the variations that have been proposed that you said are acceptable. I'm confused on these canopy. What's maybe the staff can answer that too. What's the deal on the canopies?
So the canopy at the northernmost part of the site, so up here, it extends more than 3 feet into that setback, just by where it's placed on the site. It's just bigger than what the code allows, so they would need
What's the code allow?
3 feet.
And they're more than 3 feet, okay.
Yes. And the other 2 canopies, at one point, they were too large, but they've managed to cut them back. So they're good.
Okay. This is an overhead canopy where the people are going to pick up their food, is that the?
This is this canopy.
employee?
Hold on. This canopy here where this is where they're ordering their food.
Yeah, so we build we call it an employee coverage over the drive-through. For summer months, they don't get sunburns, and during the winter months, they don't get snowed on, and then when it's raining, the customers can stay dry. We typically.
The gas station, huh?
Exactly, and it's about the same cost as well. But we like to, we like to span the entire drive-through aisle. We have locations where we just cover one lane or two lanes, but because this is going to be a drive-through only, and we're going to be taking orders out of both lanes full-time to make sure we don't have any more backup, we really need that canopy for the safety and protection of our employees and team members.
Okay, so you take the orders in the 2 lanes and then it goes down to 1 lane?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Mr. Chairman, I have no further questions.
Commissioner Zatar?
I didn't expect to go next.
Well, he was late, so his vote's already yes.
No, I'm ready. I'm ready, and I think I want to say some stuff sooner than later. So, listen, I think everybody here wants to see a Portillo's in Orland Park. That's first of all, right? Everyone loves Portillo's. You're right. It seems like you found a great location. Seems like you found great traffic counts and great dense spot of town, but I think you guys are getting it wrong, and I think you just don't know it. You will be wildly successful in our town. We know it, you know it, but this location probably needs quite a bit more work before you come in my opinion. I've done quite a bit of traffic reports in my day, and I'm gonna tell you, I sat here and counted how many spaces we have at Chick-fil-A, how many spaces we have at Cane's, how many spaces you have at your other Tinley Park location, and they all got it wrong. You have over 70 spots in the queue in the drive-through at Tinley Park location, and you still back up into McDonald's through lane, right? So you don't go out into the street because you're in a huge lot there. That's 70 spaces. Cane's, I counted, has about 25 spaces. We got it wrong. They're backing out into Orland Square Drive, as we know. Chick-fil-A has about 40 spaces with double lanes, and we got that way wrong. So for you guys to come in here and say you think you only need 25 spots because your kitchen's gonna be faster, I think is completely wrong. Yes, maybe your kitchen's gonna be faster, but in the rush hour, you're gonna see 25 cars pull up in the same 15 minutes. And you're not gonna be able to handle it, and the city's gonna have issues, in my opinion, and maybe the police department's gonna have to shut the restaurant down if you're backing up in LaGrange, right? So I really think, in my opinion, you need to look at studying a 3rd lane and maybe 2 lanes all the way through. So it seems like the property has room, but I just truly don't think you're gonna be successful with just 25 parking spots or queue spots in the drive-through. And then like the other commissioner said, you have 60 employees in this building and you're trying to do deliveries as well. There's gonna be traffic trying to get in the drive-through while your drive-through is clogged up because you have more than 25 cars that haven't even ordered yet. And if you're placing your canopy at a spot where I think it's halfway through your 25 or 26 car queue, I mean, you missed the boat, right? Because if you're not catching their orders at the beginning, you know, they're just waiting before they even take their orders. So that's all my 2 cents. Again, I love Portillo's. I want to vote for it, but I think you're going to clog up the street in a heartbeat.
Awesome, and Commissioner, I really appreciate your comments and your concerns there.
Thank you. Just one important differentiation, because you mentioned a few other restaurants. One big differentiation between this one is it's not indoor eating. So people aren't using the parking to park and go inside and eat with their family. And I know you.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. But
Yeah.
this is Portillo's. You're on a whole different level than Cane's, right? And Cane's makes one thing on the menu, right? And they're still backed up,
Yeah.
right? So,
Okay, anything else? I'm sorry.
no, and mine weren't really questions. It's just I think you guys are going to be really successful. And I think you could probably take a look at a 3rd lane where you have 2 lanes, and you could probably take a look at 2 lanes where you have 1 lane, because I think you'll truly need it.
I appreciate your comment. So I would like to echo what
sure.
Commissioner said about our menu items. Yeah, Todd has 1 menu item, chicken, and you'll get to decide how many pieces you want, right? 3 or 5. But with Portillo's, like you said, this isn't fast casual, so where you can't walk up and order the menu. So the ticket time that increases in a QSR is whenever customers are looking at the menus and then figuring out what they want, placing the order, and then getting the ticket. So
I get it. You don't have to sell me. Listen, I know, but between when I order my food at Chick-fil-A or when I order my food at Cane's, and when I leave and pay, it's quick. But just to get to the order, same thing in Tinley Park. Unless the guy with the iPad's walking all the way down to the 70th car, you
is.
know, you're not moving. You're not moving until you start your order. When you start your order, you do move faster.
So you don't have to wait till you get to the canopy for your order. Our speed team with iPads, they walk back and take your order. So, you know, you showed 24, 26 cars and stacking to
You
the
showed it,
queue.
yeah.
And so we're almost doubling that because you can stack in that double drive-through. So that is one thing. So we don't have to wait but I really appreciate your comments.
I counted 26 with the double stack total. Am I wrong?
No, but what I'm saying is that you'll have cars stacked in that drive aisle between the parking spaces that will already have placed their orders because you have our speed team members with their iPad that's already taken their orders.
Yeah, I counted 26 with those. Okay, maybe add 10 more. Okay. Listen, I just my opinion, I think you guys are gonna have a lot of cars.
No, appreciate your opinion. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Commissioner Sanchez.
It seems like everybody's already kind of asked everything, so I got off easy today, I think. So, but I too am a big fan, so, wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of things. You're talking about a peak of 60 employees. Do you feel the parking there is adequate to cover that? Plus the other traffic you're going to have, people coming in to pick up orders and that.
Yes, and so when we looked at our employee parking spaces, I live in Texas, everybody drives to work, everything is 20 miles away, right? In Chicago, all of our restaurants here, we have a very low number of people that actually drive to work. A lot of them are dropped off or, ride the bus or bike or walk. And so all of our locations that actually have more sales or more employees have some less employee parking spaces, and it's adequate there. So we've looked at it from an internal operations standpoint, from the actual managers of the restaurant and our VP of operations to make sure that we've parked employees adequately and they're comfortable.
Okay. Yeah, I like the idea. I mean, number one, it's a spot that, I think it's a good spot for it. A couple of comments were made about Raising Cane's and some of the other issues that we've had. One of the couple of the differences that I see here, though, is that this is by itself. So you don't have three other restaurants with their traffic and their drive-throughs, and there's no place anywhere near that to put one in the future. So you guys kind of have that space to yourselves. I think that mitigates some of the problems that we've seen at some of the other locations. Chick-fil-A is in a strip mall. There's multiple businesses there that literally get shut out, at least prior to some changes being made.
Yeah.
Some of the other businesses there were getting shut out because customers couldn't get in that parking lot. That's not going to be an issue here. The Raising Cane's, that area that's got 4 or 5 restaurants on top of each other, literally, and that creates more of the problem. You don't have that here either. So I think that kind of mitigates itself. The trick is going to be keeping what you say. Corporate doesn't decide 2 years later, why are we paying 60 people when we could pay 20? Because I know how these things go. You guys are a public company. So what assurances do we have that that's not going to happen?
So we have it in the approved ordinance. If this gets approved, we'll have those things in there, correct, Wisdom?
Yeah, staff has in writing that they cannot extend into we'll shut them down if they extend into the ring road there. The additional measures that they've taken in place have to be in place at all times on the site, and they've confirmed that in our correspondence back and forth. So if you guys were to recommend approval for this project, that would be in writing, and they'd be subject to those conditions.
Yeah, that I would be fine with that. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Yeah, and I trust if it's not broke, you won't fix it.
Exactly, and I just want to say, John, thank you so much, sir, for your comments and your support. I will say, yes, Portillo's is public, we're a corporate company now. I'm obviously not from Chicago by my accent and everybody's CERN man, right? But I can tell you that the board meetings we sit on, Dick Portillo is still involved in the company. He comes to the restaurants, he goes to the locations and makes it operating because he built this brand and that's his name on the building. His son is still our VP of operations, so that's his name on the building. So when I say the assurance I can give you my assurance or Portillo's assurance, but you're also getting, this is Chicagoland. This is where we started. This is where we're from. We're not in the business of making people upset. We don't sell a lot of hot dogs that way. So.
Okay, well,
Mr. Chairman, before you sum it up, could I ask one more question?
of course, Commissioner Schussler.
If your projections are wrong, and you're wildly successful, and you have traffic problems. And this is what happened, you've heard the Chick-fil-A mentioned several times. And they've been mentioned because they had to do a major overhaul of their drive-through because they were too successful. They had traffic backing up onto LaGrange Road, which, as you know, being up here enough, is a major thoroughfare, a lot of traffic. And there was the potential for a lot of rear-end collisions. So they were forced to add a lane. So my question is, if this is super successful and you have too much going through the two order lanes going down to one lane, you have the room there to add a third lane.
Yes, so there are setbacks on the site, and there's also landscape coverage requirements that we have to adhere to. And so the site is actually, I believe.
What?
So the site, I believe, I was looking for my civil here. So the site's already pretty developed, and we've squeezed as much concrete as we can out of it. If we are super successful and we double because, we model this off of doubling the revenue that we think we're going to do, right? So if we more than double the revenue and we're having traffic back up, we'll build another Portillo's drive-through. I mean, that's a good problem to have, right? But the other thing that I want to talk about with this drive-through concept these are infill developments, right? So a typical QSR Portillo's, you can go in, sit down, 8,000 square foot, all the stuff on the walls. It's there for an experience, right? All of those 2-acre sites in Chicagoland are almost gone, right? So we're building these on the 1 acre, 3/4 of an acre sites, and these are going to be common around Chicago. So the trade market for this location only is going to be cannibalized in the next couple of years from other markets that we're going to do infill in. And so if we are uber successful in Orland Park, the short story is go a few miles down the road and build a second one to split the traffic and get that trade dollar to go between two locations.
Okay, so you've answered my question. The site's pretty well developed because it's a fill-in site. So-
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I can add a couple of other.
Go ahead.
things As far as some of the limitations on the site, it might look like there's a ton of room outside of the area that's proposed to be drive-through or around the perimeter of the building, but there's actually a significant number of easement restrictions due to public utilities, and there's a natural gas pipeline along the west side. That's part, the really driving reason as to why that drive-through lane is so far set back from LaGrange Road. But even that being said, the 25, 26 spaces that we have as our drive-through capacity starts at the start of the drive-through lane, and there's that whole additional drive aisle on the east side of the site that would be additional space that cars could back up into. And understanding that there's concern about traffic backing up onto LaGrange Road as a major thoroughfare from other developments in town, that's still another 2 streets over from where
Yeah,
our
well,
entrance is.
because of the access, you don't have direct access to LaGrange Road, so that's not a problem here.
To the extent that we can, we've made as much of a winding path and as much queue length as we can possibly string out between where our pickup window is as to where it takes to get to the
Well,
site.
we hope you're very successful, but not so successful that you create traffic problems.
Just successful enough.
Yeah.
I hope you're wildly successful. But Commissioner,
Have the engineer one more time. So Tinley Park, ballpark. How many people work there Saturday? Saturday rush is your busiest time, right? Any idea? What's the busiest time for a standard Portillo's?
So in Chicagoland, our busiest time is going to be Saturday lunch rush or Saturday afternoon dinner rush.
That's what I thought. Okay, so that at that point in time, take like 159th or 95th, or the closest, I think. Oaklawn and Tinley Park.
Yes, sir.
How many employees? Ballpark.
So I raised my right hand before this started. I don't have that number off the top of my head, but
Dine in, so.
I would estimate max capacity for new builds, 75, 85 employees.
And how often do employees come and go? Is it like a job where it's 11 to 7s and all that?
It depends on so we have part-time employees and we have full-time employees and managers on duty. The managers get there at 7:30 in the morning. The opening crews get there at 9:30, and then the second crew comes in at 2:30. So between 5 hours and 10-hour shifts between managers and part-time employees.
yeah,
I would estimate.
So we have 36 spaces, give or take, right?
and like you said, they're dine-in.
There's no dine-in, right? So we have 37 spaces. Or 38, okay. So we have 38 spaces. How much is I mean, so a few employees come and go every hour. So how many spaces are employees out of 38?
I mean,
The 38, how many are employee cars not moving?
so the whole row of traffic, I don't have that number off the top of my head, the site plan, but it's that whole double row of parking right there.
That's what we think will take care of the employees.
About 18 cars, right? 18?
And then the other will be our pickup people.
Yes, so the ones adjacent to the building right there will be for which pickup orders only. And then, yeah, those parking spaces up there, we need for additional employees. But we typically estimate, a few people an hour coming in and picking up. It's just not a huge revolving door of online orders that we get in these locations.
Okay. And like, I do go to Panera. I like Panera. Nothing against you guys. But when I go in there, I constantly see pickups, Uber Eats, and these people. But you don't get that? You don't get those kind of people?
So Panera is coffee, right? Anytime that you sell coffee or have breakfast, you have people that are in a hurry. And so whenever you do breakfast coffee service, you do a lot of online pickup, like Starbucks and all. I mean, you can walk into a Starbucks and see 14 cups of coffee on the counter and 2 people in the restaurant. I mean, Portillo's is an experience. It's not, I mean, I hope I'm wrong one day. We have a whole bunch of online orders, but that's just not our business, our model, or our customer, our client.
Everyone's worried about LaGrange. I'm not worried about LaGrange. I'm worried about the ring road.
Me too.
And that's where I think the problem is. I mean, good vibes. I guess you sit. I don't think you really pick up. That's your neighbor. Where's the eye doctor in the relationship? Where's Provision or whatever? Where are they at?
On the other side, the 149th.
So what's next to them besides good vibes?
Can you repeat your question?
Who's their neighbor besides good vibes? That vegan place?
Let's see.
Oh, I can't believe it's not meat.
Yeah, it's the Mexican food or whatever. Yeah,
So are either of those drive-throughs? No. Well, the vegan thing isn't a drive-through, right? You stop
No,
in?
it's a sit down.
Okay. And then after that, it's both banks?
Yeah,
Citibank
banks.
and Fifth Third, which only has
Yeah.
so much.
Correct.
Okay. And then for what it's worth, is Simon, it's not an option now. Did Simon say never, ever, ever that you could have a parking arrangement? I think everyone's correct. I honestly think you're going to have an immediate problem. I'm being honest if I didn't come across, but I think you will. So Simon's like, you can never, ever have like 15, like if you got to move 15 people over there and add another lane?
So I wasn't involved in that conversation. I don't work in real estate, but I know that whenever we negotiate leases with Simon, there are landlords on, 20 or 30 deals across the US.
So not your landlord here, right? This isn't a Simon property, your exact piece, right?
No, I'm just saying that with the mall owners, the way it typically is negotiated is we pay insurance and everything based on a certain leasable area. And whenever they say no shared parking, that's if there's an accident or something. It doesn't mean if there's a car parked there, they're going to call the cops. It just means it's really out for liability. But I can't answer that honestly or truthfully because I wasn't involved in the negotiations on the lease on cross parking here.
Okay. Thank you. Well, my commissioners have touched on all the thoughts I may have had.
No, Mr. Chairman, I just want to add one more thought if I could.
Of course you may.
Thank you, sir. So you made a comment about all the setback requirements, just so you guys are aware. And again, I think you're going to get your vote, but I agree you're going to have some immediate problems. Chick-fil-A had 95th Avenue and 156th Street. They had 2 streets before they got to LaGrange, and they got there quick, right? And you have the same thing. I do think you have room to the north. Maybe with the utility easements on the west, you might be able to do something. I think that we gave a ton of variances to Chipotle and BJ's and Cane's and all those guys. So variances are not an impossible thing to get up here. But understanding that this problem we're talking about is from experience, and why we keep bringing it up is all that I'm asking.
No, and I just want to say that we open on Sunday, so we can divide our customer count to 7 days instead of 6. It should help stacking.
Be busy every day. Like I said, Tinley Park
so.
is slammed.
We got it.
So, as I was saying, most of my fellow commissioners touched on my points. I appreciate your replies. I think I'm glad to see such a successful business going into that particular site, especially. I'm happy to see that. I think this concept of yours will alleviate many of the problems that you would have experienced if it was still a sit-down restaurant. That would not have flown, I don't think. And I like a lot of the planning you've done and the precautions where you actually have traffic cops and things. I mean, you've given this a lot of thought. You've taken the studies you've had from your restaurants, other places and other restaurants, and incorporated them into this plan. And so none of us knows what the future will bring, but certainly you've made, you've made your worst case plans.
Yes,
Or your
sir.
best case plans, let's call them. And so I don't have anything to add other than happy to see you coming into our town.
Thank you.
And thank you for appearing before us. At this point,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
regarding case number 2024-0016, also known as Portillo's Hot Dogs, 20 Orland Square Drive, special use permit for a drive-through restaurant. I move to approve the staff recommended actions and proposed findings of fact as presented in the staff report to the Plan Commission for this case. And you can't knock that building down soon enough. It is an eyesore.
The demo permit is in the city for approval. If you sign it, I'll have it down tomorrow.
So we have a motion approved by Commissioner Schussler, and I will second it. And so Commissioner Zatar?
Aye.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Aye.
Commissioner Paul?
Aye.
Commissioner Zamparelli?
Very conflicted.
I know I'm looking that way, but I said your name.
No, I know. Can you give me a second here? I'm still thinking. I'm really concerned with the ring road.
Well,
so-
Commissioner Nugent,
I'm ready, but I'd like to see Schuster first.
you what?
Can Schuster go first?
Sure.
I don't know if I want to go first. I vote aye.
Aye, okay. Commissioner Nugent?
If it's unanimous, it goes right to full board.
Correct.
And if one of us objects,
Then it goes to committee of the whole.
Goes committee of the whole.
Then the building won't get knocked down soon enough.
I'll go with yes to move it along.
Thank you.
Decide if you want to go.
Commissioner
to committee of the
Zamparelli?
whole.
Thank you. Mr. Nugent, leave it on my lap.
Is that a yay?
I'll go with the yay. I'm just so concerned with the ring road, and I want to believe you're going to do the right thing.
Okay, it's moved unanimously. Congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you so much. We're excited
Thank you.
about it. Thank you.
I'm thinking of the Dunkin' Donuts.
I move that we close public hearing number 2024-0116.
Second. First.
Seconded by Commissioner Paul. In favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Regarding public hearing number 2024-0307, I believe the petitioner requests continuance.
Yes, yes.
So I move
They're requesting to a date certain of Tuesday, July 16th.
July 16th,
Yes,
and that is one of our regularly scheduled meetings.
yes, that's one of the regularly scheduled
So I
meetings.
move, I move that we continue public hearing number 2024-0307 to our July 16th meeting.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. I move that we close public hearings.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nobody opposed? Okay. There's nothing particular to vote on or anything, but do any of the commissioners have anything else for discussion?
Public hearing. Or public comment.
Oh, it's not public
Public
comments.
comment on a non-agenda item, not in a public hearing.
For a petition or just general?
Well, during the hearing. I don't think she wanted.
Would you, Miss, would you like to make a comment or something for the record? Excuse me.
Come on over, come on up to the microphone
Come on
so
up
we
to the
can
mic
hear
so
you.
we can hear you, and we could record you. And please, it's a comment, so we don't need any.
Yeah, there's no hearing. She's not getting.
Okay, your name, please?
My name is Victoria, and I'm an Orland.
Victoria, what's your address?
14154 Trenton Avenue in
Okay,
Orland
what
Park.
would you like to say to us?
I guess this is part of the non-scheduled citizens and visitors section. So I just wanted to, I had a little thing I wanted to, because I'm working out something with a neighbor with respect to,
Is that microphone on?
okay. So I'm attending the meeting today, June 18th, 2024, to review current and proposed land development code with respect to the tennis and sports courts code, which I found online. So recently, my adjacent neighbor placed a large net, at least 10 feet wide, 10 feet high. It's an unsecured metal soccer net against the entirety of my unobstructed wood fence line that I'm currently getting quotes to paint and so on. So this soccer net functionally acts sort of as a makeshift fence and is used in a manner that currently, from what I read, exceeds the application requirements for permit and zoning under the tennis and sports code, sports courts code. So specifically, when I was looking at the code, by design, a tennis court where a ball is hit inwards above an interior fenced structure, it's surrounded by an exterior fence to prevent a projectile from leaving the area and hitting adjacent property. Tennis and sports courts are enclosed. So by design, they're meant so a ball doesn't hit external objects. By comparison, a large metal soccer net is typically placed at one end of a sports court, which may encroach on an adjacent property, whether the adjacent property has a code-enforced 6-foot-high wood fence or not. So a soccer net might be placed at the end of a property line, whether someone has a fence on their side or not. In my instance, I have a 6-foot-high code-enforced fence. Yes?
Are you concerned because you're getting soccer balls in your yard?
Yeah, that is one of my concerns, but also structurally, like a makeshift fence that's unsecured, and I'm about to read that.
There's a makeshift fence that was put on your property?
No, it's on the neighbor's property. You're concerned about the makeshift
So
fence
can I
running into
complete?
your fence and damaging it? Is that what you're talking about?
I'm talking about the code, so if I can continue reading, it might help me to explain it a bit better.
What type of action would you like, are you seeking to be taken?
I would like to continue reading the statement so I can express that.
Oh, yeah, just let her read her statement.
Okay, yeah.
So, unlike a secured tennis court or a sports court of another nature, a 10 by 12 foot metal soccer fence is not sufficiently secured to the ground. Unlike a secured tennis court, a 10 by 12 metal soccer fence net is subject to repeated blows of force against it as its intended use. Unlike a secured tennis court, a 10 by 12 metal soccer fence can be placed at such a near distance to an adjacent property that forces projecting onto it may cause the height of the structure to fall on an adjacent property fence, allow objects to miss the net and hit the adjacent property fence directly, or enable objects to project 30 feet inside the adjacent property during a routine course of use. A tennis or sports court requirement includes a provision that the sport court fence shall be obscured from adjacent properties by plantings or shrubberies or evergreens. In this instance, the 10-foot 12 metal fence is not obscured by any plantings or shrubbery or evergreen in the owner's lot and does not sufficiently, in and of itself, act as any sort of barrier to prevent projectiles from hitting the adjacent property's fence outside the net or entering the adjacent property and hitting people, objects, or landscaping. So I reviewed my property insurance, and objects hitting my fence or unsecured fencing falling on my fence are not covered perils. Damage to landscaping, objects, or plants, and injuries to occupants or guests from recreational use, as outlined above, within an adjacent property are not considered a covered peril. In absence of common sense or goodwill, I respectfully request review of the sports courts code to include regard for specific sports that by direct intent project objects with force towards adjacent property lines, including pickleball, large batting cages, golf ranges, axe throwing, archery, soccer, and other use of force projectile-based sports to conform with the intents of the tennis and sports courts code existing. That's my statement.
I would think we're dealing with the code violation.
Well, do you have a specific section of the code that you'd like to be looked at?
I attached the code here. I'm not a professional. I mean, I work.
Sure, but maybe can I just take a look at that real quick?
You can have this whole
'Cause I
document.
just want to direct you if you may not be in the right place. Thank you. Land Development Code, Article 6, Part 2. I'm going to look this up for you right now.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, ask a question when you're ready,
Ask the question? Yeah, go ahead.
if I can. The final sentence in your statement was you're asking us to review the code to accommodate for these issues? Okay. And and I think to their question, do you think there's a current code violation with your neighbor?
I don't know if there's a current code violation because there's nothing specifically stated anywhere that I can see that specifically addresses the concern. So that's one of the reasons I'm here.
Okay, so just my 2 cents, right? Our staff can look at code issues to potentially accommodate stuff that's never come up before, but for code enforcement or building permit issues, I think those get directed to the building department.
To code enforcement.
Or building permit department, yeah, code enforcement, yeah.
I was not able to find code. I was not able to find the code besides what I showed you, the tennis and
So
court.
let me just explain a little bit. So my name is Ann Skrodsky, I'm the village attorney.
Yeah.
And so what you may be looking for is we have a department in the village called code enforcement. And those people, if somebody is in violation of the code, for example, if there is something in a setback that is not supposed to be, or something that's on a lot line that's not supposed to be, then they can come to the site, investigate, and potentially issue a municipal violation for the violation of our code. If you're instead proposing that the regulations be different than what they are, then we need to distinguish whether it's a zoning regulation, which would fall in the land development code, which is what this board has, this commission has power to review and recommend, or if it would require an amendment to the building code, which is in the main part of the code, which would be dealt with solely by the village board. So we'll try to talk to you after the meeting is over and work with you a little bit more so that we can make sure that your concerns are in the right place.
Understood. I just didn't see any specific code that addressed the situation beyond the tennis and sports court code.
Yes, and if we can't find anything that addresses your concerns, we can certainly bring your concerns to the elected officials to see if there's appetite to amend the code in that direction.
Okay. Well, you can keep that paper.
Thank you.
All right.
Don't go